Rusty got, I think, a big insurance company to invest, to give the business $5,000 to put their name on the website.
It's John Hancock.
I don't know if it was John Hancock or if it was
John
someone. No, it was.
I can
think so, but
I have it.
we have to look it up.
But
Anyways.
It was a big one like that. Okay.
And
it wasn't some guy.
they wanted their logo on the website. It was a network relationship that Rusty had while he was working at Northwestern Mutual, a job before that, job before JP Morgan. And anyways, we tried, and eventually it just didn't work. We couldn't make it work. We couldn't figure out how to get it marketed, and eventually Rusty needed to get a job. We needed money. So he took the job at Discovery.
Okay.
But that's the only other self-directed business that he had.
Okay. While he was with JP Morgan or while he was with Discovery, did he have any clients or that lost money for any reason?
No.
Nothing whatsoever.
No, I mean, you have to talk to people at JP Morgan.
Right. You don't know that.
No, I mean, he was just an agent of, right? He was just they call them private wealth managers, right? They're like the take you out to dinner guys. They don't actually make the financial decisions. They have funds, I think, that they put people's money in. So it's not like he's the one sitting there saying, oh, invest your money here. Rusty actually knows nothing about how to invest your money. Well, but you know.
Sorry, do you want to call it Curtis?
So anyways, there was no money lost in big chunks of his clients that I know of. You'd have to ask the people at JP Morgan, but it wouldn't be Rusty. But, you know, I mean, that's all I can say. I mean, it's a good question, but
But you just don't know.
I don't. I don't even know who. I mean, he has a lot of clients, right? And I don't know who they all are, and they're all very, very wealthy people, and none of them would care if he lost this much money, or do you know what I'm saying?
I do. Okay.
So that's
This is your computer, correct?
While he was at Discovery.
Okay. What's going on with Discovery?
So again, he took this job with them. It's a daycare franchise.
Okay.
They have child care centers, about 60-ish in the Georgia, Florida, Tennessee. I don't exactly remember, but in the southeast. And he went in, and these old people they have no children, no one to give this business to, right? So they were looking for someone to sort of run the business and grow it.
So they could sell it.
So they could sell it for more money.
Right.
Just we're now in the shitty economic period where no one's buying businesses for more than pennies.
Right.
And it was great for a while. And Rusty they implemented all these new changes, and they sold a couple centers. They call them daycare centers. And Rusty hired a bunch of people and got the right team going and whatever. But these people were real hard people to work with. They're like crabby old people. And eventually it was really one of those things where they put a video camera in Rusty's office because they lost trust in Rusty. They installed a video camera while we were on vacation.
Why did they lose trust in him?
They're crazy. They were crazy.
How did you guys find out about the video camera?
We saw it in the state.
Really? Wasn't it because...
It was hidden in the smoke detector. He's an idiot. The guy is a total idiot.
Did they try to indicate Rusty in anything? Did they follow him?
That office, there was a lot of, there was a gossip in the office, mostly women that worked there. And
Cliff and Diane still are there. We're talking about people that got canceled, so we don't know who they are.
Did the email come through?
Yes, I'm opening the file now, so I can give you Debbie's last name. I don't know Debbie's last name.
We
I actually, I just wanted to.
Her first name is Debbie.
Okay, we can
But
get
yes.
that. Okay. Now, if for whatever reason, once you start looking through it, if something's missing, whatever, please let me know, and I'll endeavor my best to make sure that the information is. But you going through, I mean, if like you have a name and no phone number.
Right, I
There,
understand.
okay.
I understand.
Or if for some reason part of the file's corrupted.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so this discovery point thing, yeah, he was unhappy. Rusty would come home unhappy. They were making his life miserable. The video camera thing was sort of the last straw, and he was trying to hang in there, but eventually it was a sort of, we don't want you here unless it's I want you here, and so that was the end of that.
Right. Okay. Now, considering everything, since you met, how long have you guys been married? 10 years. And
We've known each other for 16 years.
16. For during the 16 years that you've known him, has there been anybody during those 16 years that he had, whether it was on purpose or inadvertently, really rubbed the wrong way, really made angry for whatever the reason is, ex-girlfriend, boyfriend of ex-girlfriend, anybody at school, teachers, anything like that that you can think of? And that's a question I'd actually like you to keep in mind, so if you do think of something in the future, you can let me know.
Okay, I'm going to think about that for a second.
Okay.
On this discovery point thing, and I think
Yes, ma'am.
Rusty just saw Cliff and Diane for the first time, and that was a long time. He was eating lunch with Neil one day, and again, Neil could give me the date because I don't know the date. And they were going, Neil and Rusty were coming out, and Cliff and Diane were going in. And it was a simple hello, and then that was the end.
Cordial, being as much as you can,
But yes,
and civilized.
that's right. I'm just telling you.
Neil did mention something about that.
Okay, so fine to know. never signed the operating agreement for their company. So in fact, he owned nothing of the company.
Did Mike just leave okay with it? He's not trying to sue or anything?
Correct.
He's not?
Correct. And Neil has emails with him saying, you guys are great. You're going to do great. If I can help in any way, you get these emails from Neil. Or, I'm sure I have them on Rusty's computer, but yes, Rusty forwarded me emails. And then at the end, after all that, right, Mike realized that this is,
So Mike made a turnaround.
yes. I mean, he was initially annoyed, right, that they were asking him for the money and asking him to sign, or maybe you're not the right guy. And of course, Mike thinks he is smart, so he thinks he is the right guy. But then he wrote a nice email saying it was nice working with you. Good luck. Really.
And that was about a month ago, right?
Okay, 3 weeks.
Month-ish.
Yeah, Neil would know better than I.
Okay.
And Mike sent us 2 gift cards for staying at our house to Prime Restaurant or something, thanking us for letting him stay here.
Have you heard from him then?
Me? No, and I wouldn't, because I hadn't talked to Mike ever until he came into this house.
Was he welcomed back here?
When he left, was I?
No, is he welcome now? Because you know what happened now? Is he aware?
I assume Neil has told him that.
I thought
I'm not sure.
Neil was good friends with Mike.
Okay, Neil has a friend named Harold,
Yeah.
and I'm sure he'll tell you about him. I don't know this person. Not Harold
Now
Solomon.
Harold the leasing?
Not the building Harold. This will get confusing. That's a different guy. That's Rusty's best friend mentor, Harold. Neil has a friend named Harold who's like a technology whiz and whatever, right? And Harold recommended Mike to be part of this company.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying? And so, it was, anyways, I welcomed him in the house, I said goodbye and gave him a hug when he left. He's a nice person, but the bottom line is, he exited from the company, right? That was it. There was no more, he has no claim, no stake, no nothing. I mean, have you seen the Facebook movie? Okay, so we happen to have just seen it, right? And I'm not saying Rusty's Business is going to be the next Facebook, but when you see that movie, you're real careful about making sure the right people's names are on the right pieces of paper so that they don't come at you later and say, that was my idea, that was my idea. So that was going through, we had just seen it like that past weekend. So I'm just telling you, that's why we were, Laura.
And that's what we're looking into for that reason.
I understand.
We
I
don't-
understand. But Laura Hester, who's a lawyer, she'll tell you everything about that scenario. Okay? And then Neil told you about Josh.
Kelly's home.
I presume Josh Miller, right? Who was the other Josh was out. Now, Josh has signed an operating agreement, so he's essentially still part of the company. And Laura was working on, figuring out what he had to unsign. But now we're here, so that's not happening. I mean, I don't know what you'd have to talk to me.
Okay, you didn't mention that.
Okay. So, but I've met Josh personally at Neil's house at company party that we had. He's a lovely person.
Okay.
But I don't know him very well. I mean, is he capable of doing this? Who knows?
Okay.
But I'll keep thinking about other people.
Please do.
You understand that there is no one. I mean, believe me, if in the past couple months I had thought that Rusty had fights with people, I would tell you. I don't.
I believe you, and there might be something that pops up in your mind.
Absolutely, I'm sure there could be.
Yes, there is one.
I'm sure there could be. I just can't. I'd almost have to look through his contact list. I know it sounds weird, but I'd have to look through his friends and say, would this friend do that, or would this friend? But that's hard.
Well, when you're looking through the list, I mean, if something happens to trigger a memory, you know.
Yeah.
It seemed like my impression is that the mornings were very routine. Every day, the same thing happened, and you could always expect Rusty to be at the daycare center between 8:45 and 9 a.m.
Yeah, somewhere in the 8:30 to 9:15 range, really.
You can guarantee he's going to be there.
Yeah.
When he gets up,
It depends on,
Right.
I mean,
that's real.
Who else would know his routine for the mornings?
We do.
That's it.
we have
Practice
breakfast
with
with him on Skype.
We use the computer and Skype. They know when they're leaving the door.
So nobody outside the family, his business partner, as far as you know. I know you can't be 100% positive.
I mean,
Business partners.
Neil would be the only guy.
Neil
The
would be
only
the only
reason
guy.
Neil would know is that Neil knows not to make meetings before the time that Rusty has to drop.
Well, Rusty sounds like the type when he bragged that he's taking his kids to school in the morning every day. That's important to him, so that's what he gets up to do first thing. So if he talks about his kids, he's going to say, there are some men that take a lot of pride in the fact they're home, go to school, pick the kids up, bring them to school. So, and that's what we're getting at. I mean,
Does he tell that?
But yeah, I mean, does he brag? I don't want to say brag, but boast about something like that.
No.
Not boast. It's not find the right word, but I mean,
No.
he's proud of the
He
fact that
takes
he.
pride in it,
he
but I
takes
will
pride
tell
in it.
you, actually, he would not tell anyone that.
So in general conversation, that's what I'm saying.
No.
Yeah.
No.
He's proud of the fact that he's able to do it.
The one that, this neighbor down the block, the lady I talked to, I never heard of her. She said, her name was, the news, she said she hadn't talked to you and she brought it over. And she asked me if we were having a wake and I said, no, we were just sitting here. She said, do you know her? She came out of nowhere from the
There's
neighbor.
neighbors coming from out of the, I don't know any of these people. What
That's
does
how
that
you
matter?
asked me if anything unusual happened. I never heard you guys talking about it.
No, he doesn't tell anyone that he takes his kids to school outside of this family necessarily. But remember, he doesn't have a traditional job, right? So it's not like there's a group of people he's going to that knows that he. Don't answer that. Do you know what I'm saying? So by the way, this is my Baco exterminating guy. His name is Lou. I don't know his last name.
He called this morning.
Just listen a minute.
Yeah, sorry.
He comes into my house frequently. Sprays for bugs. I mean, I love him. He's actually great. But I'm telling you that he knows our schedule. Okay? I mean, he has been here at 7 a.m. We like to spray the house right before we leave because I'm sort of paranoid about the smell of the bug spray and the kids' toxic blah, which I'm sure is crap. But I'm just telling you that, I mean, I can't
He's
imagine.
somebody else that knows the schedule.
He knows, he's very familiar with our house, he's very familiar with our cars. I don't think he actually knows where we go to school. Like, I don't think he knows where
wants to talk to him now.
Okay.
Would you like to say?
I'll talk to him briefly.
Yeah,
Just
you want to talk to him now?
Just briefly, to get his,
Just his name.
contact. Hey Lou, this is Detective Thompson. Let me just get your name and contact information. I'll call you back.
6 o'clock on a Friday night.
He's called several times.
ZICC?
Doesn't really want to spray.
Okay.
Listen to me.
Okay.
Just
And your contact number? Okay.
it's a very, very funny man.
576
He's been spraying this house since the day we moved in.
6842.
5 years.
Fantastic. I'll probably, I'll either give you, I'll call you back
He
tonight.
was here
Okay?
that morning, I believe. We have to go back and look.
Thank you very much.
Should have been Thursday
Bye-bye.
morning.
Yeah.
7 a.m. I was still here because Sophia and I hadn't left. Okay. I was in the garage getting ready to go with Sophia. Lou was spraying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he has a Baco truck. White truck with Baco exterminating on the side.
I spell Baco.
B-A-C-O. He was here. And very early, very 7. He's very prompt. And he knows that we like him to come early because we both work. And so, I'm just
You
saying,
did this yesterday.
I think so. You would have to ask Lou.
Oh, okay.
I can't
Rustin
remember.
let him in,
Okay. He came at 7 a.m. He rang the doorbell.
right?
I was getting Sophia into the garage. Rusty got the door, but I saw Lou spraying. I said, "Hi, Lou. How are you?" Great. And then I got in the car and left with Sophia. Lou was still here. He was still here. And, but I'm saying, he could have seen something. It could have been him. I have no idea.
We're going to call him.
So, he's definitely a person to call. And he has called several times today, and I didn't know why. So, I'm just telling you. It's not like he doesn't know our routine necessarily. It's not like he spends all day here.
Right.
But he knows.
He knows the first
He
part.
knows our cars. You know, he knows our first part of our day. He was here, and it probably was Thursday. I honestly don't remember.
Okay.
Could have been Wednesday. It could have been Thursday. I'm not sure.
Um,
And I'm sorry, I didn't remember that before.
It's okay.
But he has called, so he
That's cool.
probably knows something.
Okay. Is there?
She's getting upset, you can tell.
Yeah.
You all right with continuing?
Yeah.
You want to continue?
How much more?
So it depends on her. I think she's doing pretty great. I mean, I'll be honest with you. As long as she's strong for it, I'll stay.
Okay. Go
How's
ahead.
that?
Let's go.
Keep
Let's go.
asking.
Do you know anybody that drives a silver minivan? Whether it's a nanny at somebody else's house or...
No, I mean, you have the silver.
Besides,
I mean, this is family members,
Mhm.
right?
Or anybody, just anybody.
Yeah, but he has a silver Odyssey. Who?
The garage open?
yeah.
Who cares? Yeah, can we just stop fighting, please? But no, I don't know anyone else who knows
that's really distinctive about her? No? No. How has he tried to...
He hasn't done anything to break up my family. He's just expressed his feelings to me.
Okay. But has it been through flirting? Has he specifically said, I'm interested in you?
Yes, he specifically said that. Yes.
Do you want to continue Friday?
No. It's fine. Go ahead.
Has there been anybody else? No. Previous to within this year, anytime when you guys are married, no? Has there been anybody that's been interested in Rusty? Same way.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that.
Okay. I really can't think of anything else I've asked right now.
You didn't ask whether that was reciprocated.
Was it reciprocated?
I made it clear and just that. And this is not an individual that would do something like this.
And you said he's your boss. What exactly is his title? Is he like a vice president? Or?
Quality and operations manager. I believe it's really not.
Could I just explain to you that Andrea came on board in her job as one of the only females amongst a group of,
No, that's not
I know,
necessarily true.
and she's conducted herself above board. She's extremely professional. This is Rusty's partner.
Yeah, we have to.
That's fine.
I just need for you to know that as soon as that happened, she shared that with me. She said, I made it very clear to him that I was interested in him, that this wasn't going to go anywhere. And
You knew about all this?
I knew this until she talked to me. We're close. And she said, I can handle it. I said, what are you going to do? Should you go to someone in HR? Who do you talk to about sexual harassment? And she said, no, I can deal with you. I'm making it clear to you that this will never, it's never going to happen.
No, I did not. Not now. We don't need to talk about it as a family now, okay?
But it was something that she's such a professional, and she said,
We understand.
you're judging. I understand.
Right. If you feel better, you can continue, but you don't have to justify it.
I'm just telling you.
You're going on.
I'm sorry.
We're all around.
I'm sorry.
Give me the car keys.
Yes, I give it to...
This is what we need, and the time you guys have this week, we have a warrant to get this computer ourselves. And we just want to do it as quietly as possible and to move on.
All right, let me explain to you.
Absolutely.
Can we comply with the warrant tomorrow?
No, man.
We need it tonight.
And we are working this diligently.
All
Okay.
right. You promised me the phone numbers this morning and did not give them to me. Therefore, when you tell me you're taking this computer, which
When will we get it back?
has all of her family pictures, everything that they've taken Rusty put on
Right.
it, which has all of their financial information, all of their bank accounts. She has no knowledge of any of
Right.
that.
Right.
She doesn't go into his
Right.
computer. When are we getting them back?
We don't, I don't know, since the holiday season right now.
Then how do we give that to you when she is going to be up in the air without the ability to pay bills, to do anything?
We've tried to copy the photos. We didn't have.
when it comes to court, the way
Steve Snyder. Okay, this is the
I'm Andrew Thompson. The way it has to work for court is that a computer forensic specialist has to take a photo of the information on the computer, which shows dates, times, anything and everything when files were manipulated, the last time the files were manipulated in the computer. That includes copying programs, copying pictures, all that kind of stuff. If there's anything on that computer that shows there's a manipulation of the file this close to collecting the computer, serving the warrant, there is a possibility of it coming up as being tampered with in court. There's a possibility of saying, this is not the original file we're looking at on the computer because it was accessed on this date just before it got into police custody. That in itself, I don't know what's on that computer, that in itself can discredit anything and everything on that computer. And if we find vital information on the computer that you guys don't know about, that leads us to the person that did this to your husband, that information can get tossed out and the whole case can be dismissed and the guy will never serve time. That's how vital this computer is. I completely understand wanting to get all the personal pictures, all the account information, everything like that off of the computer so you can maintain your family pictures, maintain your memories, move on with your business and paying the bills and all that. Completely understand that. But by doing that, you are jeopardizing the possibility of having legitimate information in there being tossed out in court by a savvy defense attorney.
Well, we already attempted to copy the photos.
Then do it.
And it didn't work.
Okay.
So,
Okay, what I'm going to need from you guys, I hate doing this. I need a statement from you guys saying that we attempted to copy photos for this reason on this day. Okay? What we need to do is, I need to take this computer to a forensic computer specialist. It's either going to be the GVI or the DeKalb District Attorney's Office. Once they take a photo of that hard drive, which shows everything the way it is once it comes into our possession, and I get that statement from you guys, that should cover it. And once we get that image from the forensics, then we can download anything that you guys need to move on with this. Okay, but it's important that it happens with a state-certified forensic specialist to log in and verify everything first before we go in and start manipulating files in any kind of fashion.
I'm just telling you, we've already tried to take off the photos and the bank account information because I needed that.
Right.
And I didn't want you to run into this house and take the computer out because that's what I thought you were going to do.
Okay. So,
I'm just telling you, sign any piece of paper you want, but I'm telling you that some of that we tried because all I had in my mind was that you were going to come take this and never did it back.
I do understand that. Honestly, I do. And this is not a... I hate explaining the I mean, I completely understand the gravity of this, and I don't want to disrupt your family any more than it needs to be. I want to make things as smooth as possible for you guys. As I explained to Todd earlier, I'm kind of working for you guys. I'm mostly working for your husband. I am the one person that is going to do his damnedest to see justice for your husband. And, okay? Listen. And,
Let me just, I can help you. Okay. I want to disclose here, I'm an attorney in Ohio.
Okay.
I don't go anywhere near criminal law.
Okay.
But I understand what you're talking about here.
Okay.
I remember enough from law school. My saying is true. Okay? So we just need to work with him to come up with that statement. And, you know, I don't know what's on here that you need to administer the business of his household.
I don't either. That was my point.
Okay.
You see, because
She doesn't even know where to begin.
I nobody wants to sit down and do that.
Don't worry about it. There's enough people around this table. We'll deal with all that and we can sort through that. You will get this back.
Yeah, yes, at some point you will get it back. Don't know when.
I may remember something about the kids.
The actual computer, let me refer to it. That's
Best as I can to understand what's going on here. But I think it's just important that these guys.
So, is the fact that he took the photos off, is that going to taint the computer evidence?
It's going to be an argument that a defense attorney could use, but it doesn't have to be today, as far as the statement's concerned. I have to plead ignorance in the technicalities of the faith that you follow. I understand that you're going in, that there's a process here called Shiva, and it lasts for about 7 days.
Yes.
Any point next week, when you guys feel like you're ready to write down the statement as to the date and the time that you guys tried to do stuff on the computer, I can bring over to you, or you can come over to the police department and write down the official paperwork. This is what I did. This is when I did it, and hopefully that'll be enough. Okay. Now,
What's done is done. We're not going to worry about that anymore. I'm sure the county prosecutors are going to face this issue.
now.
So let's.
I'll tell him.
Yeah.
He knows. I'll sign it.
Okay.
Now, as far as, my intentions are not to deceive you guys, okay? I do not want to deceive you. I do not want to lie to you. I haven't done that. Micah, my intentions to get you the phone number list this morning, they were there. They were good. For some reason, it took Detective Clifton. He was one who was assigned to get the warrant to get into the phone. It took him a long time at court to get back for that. That was what the delay was in getting the phone this year. As soon as he got back, he was able to delay it. No, that's when the emails happened. I do apologize for that. It was not intentional for that delay. Now, as far as the physical computers are concerned, and we might want to yes, we are recording this. As far as the physical computers are concerned, once we hand it over to the DA's office, once we get the information and we log it in, it's going to be up to the DA's office when the physical computer can be given back to you. In a murder case like this, the person, once we catch the person, he's facing the death penalty. Odds are, I can't guarantee anything, but odds are the DA's office is going to keep that computer until the trial is completed. However, there will be ways that you tell us what you need.
We don't know.
I do. I completely understand what you're saying. Just hear me out. As things come up that you think you might need that's on that computer, we can pull stuff off. We can copy it and we can give it to you. If there's things on there that we find that we believe you need to continue with processing, whatever it is that you need to process, I will make sure it gets copied and given to you. Whether it's to you, whatever it is. I'll call somebody and let you know. We found this information. I think that you guys might need this for your family. When can I get it to you? That's what I'm going to do. And as soon as we can get the computer back to you, if the DA's office is fine with having the ghost image that the forensic specialist will make and keeping that as the evidence, then we'll give the computer back to you. That's going to be at the DA's office as to how they're going to handle the case. That's the reality of how that's going to work.
So you're saying that if no one is charged, if you find
Go ahead.
if you find no one
Mhm.
and charge no one,
Mhm.
could be the computer could never be returned.
I think that's unreasonable. There is such a thing in everything as being reasonable withholding under personal property. If we have, again, if we have the image of the of the computer hard drive. We have the information we can manipulate from it. Then, that's a discussion that will come up if it's looking like that's going to happen.
And also, that we're going to look at the forensic for the business practices. If we find something there, that's what we'll keep. I mean, if there's nothing there in it, then we'll bring it back.
Right. If we don't find anything in there that's of value to the case, then we'll release the computer right back to you guys as quickly as possible.
All right.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
I need all of the data, all of his financial data, to do his tax return in January. That's the only
Can I
place.
have your contact information?
My name is Donald Sneiderman.
I'm sorry, you have to.
Sneider.
M-A-N?
This is a laptop we use for Skype.
Yeah.
There's nothing on here.
216 464 4260.
4260. That's your cell phone?
No, my cell phone number is 849
849
1630. I just
16 of them. And you
I do their taxes.
need all tax
You'll give us the Yahoo account information, Annie,
for tax returns.
What about
Returns 2010.
paper finances of Cousins Business Practices? Did you print it out?
This is a copy of this here.
Files. We're going to need that, so we want it done. We're not examining, we're going to have financial people examine.
We're not smart enough to examine this stuff.
What is the procedure for keeping a log on what's taken in?
Yeah, we got to
Yes, once again.
And so we can get copies of that log.
You're going to get a copy before we leave the
And
house.
then that we can use at least paper copies of the things that you're taking out there. Use that cross-reference. These are tax
Can I see that search warrant?
Home repair stuff. What I thought was pertinent.
Yeah, that's true. We
In
need
my,
that stuff.
I'm saying in my drawers, like, he asked me about, what did you say?
Paper, financial papers,
I'm telling you.
paperwork.
But I don't know, in the drawers.
That's what I'm telling you.
That's what we're going to look. That's what we want to look.
I looked and I pulled what I thought. Now, I am not.
Fine.
That's what I'm saying. So what are you're gonna send your looking one and look
No,
for something?
You're looking for past history of credit card bills?
Credit card records,
I'll
we'll
have to
look
give
at
you the
it.
entire folder.
We'll look at that.
Folder. You think it's one folder? I got 5,000 folders upstairs of files.
And we'll
They're
take
gonna be here till tomorrow?
No, we're not.
They're going to take them, they're going to copy
We're going
them.
to take a reason. Once we get the,
But you don't understand what I'm saying. You don't understand what I'm saying.
No, I don't understand.
I have thousands of folders of shit.
Excuse me.
Bank statements that come from Wachovia every fucking 5 minutes. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're gonna take all of it?
no, how about we'll do it in drips and drabs. We're not in
Okay.
trouble. We want the most reasons so we can get the account.
Great.
And then we can take it from there. If we need something, you'll work with us on the other stuff, right? We don't have to come back and do this
You wanna
every time.
clean the files while you're at it? That would be great.
Okay.
Listen, if you could list all the crap for me.
It's there. The lawyers want to take every piece of paper and they'll figure out what's important.
That's fine, but do they know that?
They don't know. They don't know.
They don't know that, they'll copy it, and then they'll have a copy that gets their chain of custody. That's what
They're going to consult and then they'll send it.
They show they have it. Once they have it, they'll put it in databases, they'll do it, you can have it back.
Let me ask you something about the Mr. Pierce. One thing I understand.
I don't want to disrupt the procedure. I don't do that, but that's
That's pretty much true.
in a civil case, that's what I'm going to do.
This is only the first page
yesterday.
I think he left here in a hurry,
He probably did.
and I don't think he brought his wallet.
Okay, that's very possible. I've looked in all the places I thought he would leave it, but I'm happy to continue looking.
Did you look at his car?
Oh, thoroughly.
You did, did you find it?
Because sometimes he puts it in places, I don't know, although there are certain places he always puts it.
I'm gonna tell you what.
But I'd be happy to
You
look
need to look.
everywhere.
You need
I'm happy to
to
do
keep
that.
yourself up to.
Do you have his personal property?
Yes, it's
It
me.
was, I don't know if medical exam was there.
Well,
Someone else,
we need to know.
Yes.
Well, we didn't have control. We'll find that answer.
Eddie said he was.
We got there.
Find out.
And he says there's nothing.
That's nothing.
All right, so what's missing right now is his wedding ring, his watch, his Harvard Business
His
Review.
watch, did we have that, Andy?
We don't have anything from Emmy's office right now.
Where is his
What do you
wedding
mean you
ring?
don't have it? The Emmy has nothing?
Emmy, no, we don't have it. The Emmy office has everything that was with Rusty.
But what are those things?
I don't know.
Shouldn't we know?
Well, that's my point. How do you know that that these things weren't taken from his body at the scene?
I don't have the crime scene tech, the two crime scene technicians that were out at the car. I don't have their report yet. They document everything that was at the scene. I do not have the medical examiner's report yet. They document everything that was with Rusty when they got it. I'm going to get the report.
Rusty was transported to the hospital before we got there. So we don't have control. What we have to do is contact the hospital, to the medical examiner, and then to you.
You can do that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'm not going to do it right now.
No, you'll have more clock. All right.
Well, it's not a clock. They're going to give you everything they've got. And you're right. I mean, if the ring is not there, that's what we need to know. And my next question was, is nothing in the trunk? Was the trunk always clean?
Always.
Yeah.
Well, not because the car is not the cleanest car, but the trunk was clean, very clean. There's not a thing in there.
Kids don't eat.
But
If I'm not cleaning the car, you
well, there was
shit.
right. Yeah,
I'm not taking offense.
No, you're right.
You're insinuating he didn't have his wallet. I'm suggesting there's more personal property that you don't even know about.
That's very well.
Okay.
That's very
Don't
honest.
insinuate that the wallet is in the house.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure if the wedding ring is if he has his wedding ring on, then we'll have to see if we have that somewhere.
I do not see the wedding ring. It's something that Rusty puts on immediately in the morning, so I can't imagine leaving his wallet totally by that, because sometimes he's only going there to look at anything, so nothing's going to happen underneath.
Right.
But the ring, that would be totally unusual. And I'm happy to take it upstairs.
We'll backtrack with us.
This is Steve's wife.
Okay, Ellie's coming. All right, listen, you get tired, I think, and we may need to.
How much more
Well,
does she have to do?
I'm just gotta go upstairs.
Yeah, I'll be honest, she's been holding up, and I appreciate her
No,
for just
but
giving
I'm
us.
saying how much
Should we
more?
get what is it, the laptop? Your husband's laptop?
Laptop.
The desktop?
No,
It's not
I think we should give him the journal book.
Can we look upstairs where you got those?
Yes.
Was it an office? Just go upstairs and look.
All my phones and all my
Well, I'm just gonna, I'm not here, right? There's no.
Yes.
Steve,
Yeah. Steve. I'll take care of it.
Just speak up a little bit, it's a little noisy here.
Mr. Glenn, he's with you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
How many murder cases had you investigated prior to this case, sir?
This was my first homicide.
And we have listened to a reasonably lengthy tape here. You were the one who was focusing on particular areas to ask questions about, were you not?
Yes, I was trying to get as much information as possible to try to figure out where I need to go with the investigation.
you were the one who was asking about Rusty's business relations, correct?
Yes, that was one of the areas I needed to know about.
And you asked extensive questions about those, correct?
Asked what?
Extensive questions about Rusty's business transactions and relations, correct?
Yes, as Andrew was giving me information, other questions were coming up for her to clarify or to add on to or to further explain.
And you were the one who wanted to know the specifics about what Rusty, who he associated with, who he had worked for, whether he had made enemies along the way, you name it, correct?
Yes, because I didn't have any information about anybody in the family at the time, and as far as I knew at that point in time, Rusty was a perfect guy. He had no enemies. I had to ask everything to try to find a focus for my investigation.
Okay. During the course of your investigation, you found absolutely nothing to suggest that Rusty wasn't a perfect guy, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, at one point, you made a comment about crafty defense attorneys and how they will come into court and paint a negative picture of the victim, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this, sir. At some point during the course of the interview, did Mrs. Sneiderman say to you, I appreciate your asking these questions about Rusty's business transactions and dealings, but I think you're barking up the wrong tree?
Yes, she did say that.
She basically attempted to suggest to you that whatever business dealings Rusty had with this individual or that individual, it was unlikely that it would result in someone wanting to kill him, correct?
That was her opinion. However, a spouse or any family member never knows exactly what's going on in a person's life unless they're with them 24 hours a day. So I had to pursue with those questions to get as much information, and through the course of investigation, I would determine if it was relevant or not.
So you were the one who obviously was going to determine where the investigation went, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And at the time when you interviewed Mrs. Sneiderman on November the 19th of 2010, you wanted to focus on what was going on in Rusty Sneiderman's life when he wasn't with his wife Andrea, correct?
I was not focusing on anything in particular. I was focusing on everything. It was a fishing expedition to get as much information as possible.
And that was, in fact, you were the one running the fishing expedition, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, at some point you asked, did you do a little too much talking during the course of this interview?
When we actually got into the actual questions and everything, no, I don't believe I did. I let her talk.
At the beginning of the interview, do you think you did a little too much talking?
At the beginning of the interview, I did a lot of talking. However, I was also trying to establish a rapport with the family so they could start to trust me and be able to answer the questions without any fear of answering questions, or be able just to relax around me and for me to get to know the family and to explain everything. Because a lot of people do not have direct experience with court, with crimes, with the criminal law in general. When it comes to a situation like this, I want the victim or the victim's family to be aware of what the process is, what we do, and this is what's going to happen. That can be a little lengthy at times, but I try to get that away at the very beginning so we're all on the same page, and then I go into the questioning and let the person talk.
And at the conclusion of the interview, you spoke at length about why it is that the police needed the computer, correct?
That's correct.
And you also spoke about how long it was that the computer could be actually kept from the family, correct?
That's correct. They were starting to put up a little resistance in giving us the computers that we were there to see, saying, can we come back tomorrow? And so I felt, because of their lack of knowledge of the criminal process, I need to explain to them in fairly decent depth as to why we need the computer. Well, you heard the audio. I had to go into specific. I felt like I had to explain to them to keep the peace and for them to understand and to have the cooperation without having to force anything.
Okay. Most of the questions that you posed focused on Rusty's interactions with other people, correct?
That was part of the questioning, correct.
Virtually all of the questions that you asked focused on Rusty's interactions with other people, correct?
Correct, because I needed to get to know who Rusty was.
Okay. But the only really question that focused on Andrea Sneiderman was when you asked her whether anybody had tried to break up her marriage or shown interest in her, correct?
Correct. At that point in time during the questioning, I had no reason, I didn't know who to suspect and what was going on. Because Rusty was the victim, there's a better chance that somebody in Rusty's life that had a beef against him for whatever the reason was, and not necessarily in Andrea's life. So I'm trying to get to know Rusty as best as possible because I can't talk to him anymore.
Okay. Is it fair to say that the focus during the course of the interview was to get to know about as much as you could about Rusty and not necessarily about Andrea?
For that day, yes. I was more interested in getting to know more specifics about Andrea when we could talk one-on-one.
Okay. Does that explain why it is when the subject was brought up of Hemi Newman that you had virtually no follow-up questions?
No, when she brought up Hemi Newman, she minimized the importance of the affair that she neglected to tell me about during that interview.
Hello? Don't cut him off.
Okay, I'm going to object to his answer, Your
Well,
Honor.
you're going to make an objection, but don't cut
Okay,
him off.
I'm going
What's the
to-
objection?
Object, he is offering his opinion as to the nature of the relationship between the parties. I do not think that is appropriate. He is not qualified nor competent to do so.
What's the state's position?
Your Honor, I object to counsel objecting to an answer that he got to a fair question that was asked of the witness.
I'm going to overrule your objection, Mr. Clegg. Answer the question if you can.
Yes, sir. Could you ask the question again?
I don't remember what it was.
When it came to the response
I was
about
asking whether you had
for
asked
Hemi.
Andrea any follow-up questions.
for the Hemi, regarding
Yes.
Hemi, correct. She minimized how important Hemi was in her life. She did not tell me about any of the interactions during the business trips. She did not tell me about any extramarital affairs. All she did was say that he made a pass. She said no. He clearly understood, and that was it. There was nothing else for me to follow up. I was like, okay. At that time, there was a little blip. He said something. They got over it. They moved on.
Okay. So you brought the subject up about whether or not somebody else was interested in her, correct?
That's correct.
And she immediately, instantaneously gave you the name of Hemi Newman, correct?
That's correct.
She said her boss, correct?
Correct.
She then said Hemi, correct?
Correct.
She then supplied the last name, correct?
And spelled it.
And then you asked for the age of this individual, right?
I did.
Was she able to give you his age?
She said 46. I'm not sure, mid to late 40s, I believe, something along those lines.
At some point, did you make a determination as to the actual age of Hemi Newman at that time, sir?
On that day, no.
No, not on that day. At some point during the course of the investigation in the year 2010.
Yes, when he became the focus of the investigation.
Okay. What is the next defense exhibit? Is it number 22? 23,
Should be 23, 22 was
The
a consent to search document.
Yes, sir.
D23, that's where we are.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're quite welcome.
May I approach on?
Yes, sir, you may.
Sir, I'm going to show you a document marked as Defendant's Exhibit number 23 and ask if you recognize what Defendant's Exhibit number 23 is.
This looks like a TLO report.
I'm sorry, what type of?
It's called TLO.
What is
The
that?
initials actually stand for the last one. I don't know,
That's one.
the last one. That's just what the maker of the program
That's fine.
decided to
Go ahead.
name it. And what the program does, you put in a little bit of information, name, date of birth, or state in the name, something like that, and it pulls up as much information that's out there that's public to try to find an address, a phone number, date of birth, driver's license information, things like
And
that.
does that relate specifically to Hemi Newman?
Yes, the name Hemi, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, ZVI Newman.
Okay. And was that done by the Dunwoody Police Department, that request, sir?
It looks like it looks like a printout from our program, and it does not say Dunwoody Police Department on it.
Okay. Does that reflect the age of Mr. Newman as of
I'm
no?
going to object to counsel getting into the content of the document unless and until he tenders it.
I'm going to sustain that objection. Go ahead.
Okay. I would move to tender that exhibit into evidence.
Any objection?
I object. I don't believe he's laid a proper foundation, Your Honor.
I'm going to sustain that objection on that foundation for that exhibit.
At some point, did you determine the age of Hemi Newman, sir?
Through the report that provided his date of birth.
Okay. And what was his age as of November 18th or November 19th of 2010, sir?
So he was born December.
Again, I'm going to object to counsel.
Well, now, his question didn't require him to read that document. He asked him what was his age, so I don't know why he's reading that document. If you want him to remove it, I tell him to remove it, but he's looking at a document that it's not in, but the question did not call for him to read that document.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, may we remove the document unless and until it's tendered?
Well, I'm not going to. Just put it down. Ask him a question.
All right. As of November the 19th of 2010, how old was Hemi Newman?
48.
48?
I believe so. I'd have to do the math for it.
And how important here, Detective?
He's asked you a question.
Yeah, I believe it's.
Why you look at that?
Yes.
If you don't know, it's okay to say, I don't know.
Yes, sir. Doing the quick math, it says 40. I believe he was 48 years old.
I'm sorry?
48, I believe.
48, okay. Certainly not 46, correct?
No, 48's not 46. That's correct.
And now let me ask you this, sir. In regards to the follow-up questions, do you ask whether there was any sort of email communication between Andrea Sneiderman and Hemi Newman?
No, I did not.
Did you ask whether there was phone communication between Hemi Newman and Andrea Sneiderman?
No, I did not, because she did not give me any reason to ask those questions, because that was it that day. Nothing more. She didn't give me any further information to be suspicious for that there was any further communications regarding anything after that one moment.
Had any of Andrea Sneiderman's phone records been subpoenaed on November the 18th of 2010, sir?
At some point, her phone records were subpoenaed.
Was that?
Did you hear his question? He said on November the 18th. That's what he asked you.
I don't know if it was on November the 18th or not.
Did you hear his question?
I did, yeah.
Okay, answer his question.
Yes, sir.
May I have some more stickers?
You may. Ms. Carpenter, would you give him as many stickers as he needs?
Thank you. Your Honor, I'm going to mark for purposes of identification this next document as Defense Exhibit number 24.
You may. It is marked. D24. All right. They've given me the sign. The jurors have heard enough for the night. I'm going to send them home. As I said, I was going to go as long as until you want to go home. You ready to go? You told me you want to go. Deputy Garrett, if you can get in position. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave your notes in the jury box. Let me give you these instructions. Do not discuss the case. I'll allow anyone to discuss the case with you. We'll pick up at this point tomorrow where we end it tonight. Do not remain upon the floor. I don't want you to interact with anyone you should not interact with. Do not read or look at any media coverage pertaining to this case. Do not go upon the internet and do any research about this case. Do not blog about this case while it's ongoing. Do not go to any location that may have been made reference to. Or audio evidence must come to you in the form of sworn testimony and evidence that's introduced during the course of the proceeding. You're more than welcome to bring something to drink and or snack with you tomorrow. Do not consume any alcoholic beverages during lunch. Deputy Garrett will provide you with your communication devices, but you cannot have those in the jury room. Just make sure when you come back tomorrow, put them in the off position so they will not be vibrating throughout the day. The lawyers and parties cannot talk and interact with you. I don't ever want you to think they're being rude or discourteous. All right? We're going to reassemble tomorrow morning and, at 9 o'clock. And at this point in time, we're in recess till 9. All right.
It is 11 Alive's continuing coverage of the trial of Andrea Sneiderman, a very, very long day 3 on this Wednesday. Court wrapping up at 5:30. It began at 9 a.m. this morning. I'm Jeff Hullinger along with Will Smith, and it has been a day really in 2 parts. The morning session was establishing a timeline of when Andrea Sneiderman knew about the death of her husband, Rusty, and when she was revealing it. Don Sneiderman was the first witness on the stand today, and you really got a sense of rancor between he and his former daughter-in-law. You really got a sense of how different they seem to see how all of this has played out.
And I think it was a strong beginning for the state, too, because the discrepancies in the timeline, when she called Don and told him that his son had been shot, or if she had actually said he had been shot, really reflected poorly upon her story. But then the bitterness between Dawn and Mrs. Sneiderman, I think, kind of lent itself more towards the defense. Definitely showed that he had a bias that started before any of the incident with Hemi Newman.
Well, the afternoon has been very long, very tedious, very arduous in that they have been playing the first interview between the Dunwoody detective Andrew Thompson and Andrea Sneiderman inside the home of Andrea and Rusty. And in attendance, you can hear the children in the background as well as the parents of Andrea Sneiderman, who were also sitting in the midst of this. And I guess the question that I have for you is, how does this play for the jury? I mean, what is the sense of playing all of this out? Is it to try and show that maybe the police work wasn't as good or as specific as it needed to be? Or is it simply a case of going on record?
I think both, Jeff. I certainly think that it helps the defense because it shows that this was the detective's first homicide investigation, that she gave him information about a variety of different individuals, that she also gave him information about Hemi Newman. And as long and as boring as this was, I think it's important to have on the record because it's something that the defense can fall back on if the case doesn't go their way.
Detective Thompson said it was his first homicide. Does that help the defense?
I certainly think it helps the defense because one of the issues that they have here is that the prosecution's trying to say that she hindered their investigation by not revealing information, by not giving them the truth. And what we just heard here at the end before Judge Adams cut it off was that she gave them information about Hemi Newman, but they chose not to investigate it.
When they finally got around to the issue of the affair or the relationship between her boss, and it was described as someone who wanted to break up her family by Detective Thompson, the quote here was, "We're not going to talk about this as a family right now." And then it's Julie Wolf on her tweets has said that Andrea Sneiderman's mother then continued to talk about that subject. So this issue of infidelity is one that we've talked about over and over since really jury selection, and again, it rears its head in a different form today.
It does, and it goes to the heart of this matter, which this case is about whether or not she lied on the stand, whether or not she lied to police officers. And when it's all said and done, I think that you're going to have some jury members that understand someone who is committing adultery is prone to lying. It doesn't mean that she was involved in anything else.
Here with attorney Will Smith. Also, I was following Julie Wolf inside the courtroom, who has been tweeting. Really gave a sense that the jury